Welcome, everybody. I'm Paul Horn. This is David Horn, and we are joined here today by our good friend Elspeth. And Elspeth is a master volunteer here in Mission, very active in Rotary and very active in literacy, and just is a powerhouse when it comes to literacy. And so we're gathering today to get started in talking about one of our favorite things, the Riot of Reading. And we want to let Elspeth start off by giving us an important introduction. So over to you, Elspeth.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to welcome all of you from the bottom of my heart to the 2021 Riot of Reading Solutions, Mission's 19th annual celebration of family literacy, and to acknowledge that we read, write, talk, sing, play, and work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Stalo people, and we are very grateful.
Thank you. We raise our hands as well. And you might hear Baxter in the background. My cat, extremely interested in reading, incredibly, because every time we read, he has to sit in our laps. So he's down with reading. Okay, so we've got some questions for you, Elspeth. Are you ready?
Before you do the questions, sure. I have one more thing that I really would like to say, because this year, the celebration has been brought to you by Mission Literacy in Motion with help, and lots of help from Mission Community Services, Fraser Valley Regional Library, and Mission Public Schools.
And that's one of the best things about our community. It's all about partnerships. And I know that in traditional Riot of Reading years, you can see all the partners. So one of the things I'm hoping today, by the end of this video, not only will we tell people how they can riot this year, maybe I shouldn't say that in a video, but how they can participate in the Riot of Reading this year, as well as how they can kind of become in touch with all of the different partners and resources around us. Here comes Baxter now to participate. Baxter, we really don't need your help. Thank you so much, Baxter. All right, here we go. Baxter, you can go down. I'm sure we'll see him again. He's been reading a book, How to Be Annoying and Disruptive, and he's really doing great at it. All right, so we do have some questions for you. And David, why don't you fire away?
Yeah.
And get in the camera.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Elspeth, I know that literacy is a really big part of your life. What does literacy mean to you?
Oh, now that is a really good question, David, because most people, when they think of literacy, they think of only two things. They think of reading and writing. But really, fundamentally, I think that literacy, wait for this, literacy is how people get things done. So it can mean so many different things. It can mean talking to people. It can mean all forms of communication, including technology, computers, cameras, learning to do Zoom meetings. And you know, this could not be more relevant than it has been in this past year, because this year families have had to learn so many new ways to do so many things that they thought they knew how to do already. Families have needed to learn how to do Zoom for work and school. Families have had to keep up with the newest COVID rules, which seem to change all the time. Families have had to learn creative ways to deal with daycare and with economic problems, which have come along with the pandemic. And families have had to learn new ways of celebrating birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. And families have had to learn new ways to deal with all kinds of social and emotional wellness. So there's been a lot of learning that has gone on this year, and that is all part of literacy. Literacy gives people the tools to succeed in the world. And that basically sums it up.
I think it's a great definition. And I think that one of the things that we've also had to get really good this year at is figuring out how to connect with people, how to be part of community.
Yes.
And you're part of an organization that's really been a great example in Mission. And it shows how when you have that connection, and we have those connections before we ever get to COVID, we can make them adjust in difficult times. And I'm talking about Mission Literacy in Motion. And it's not an organization, really. It's a partnership of a bunch, right? So can you tell us a little bit about what Mission Literacy in Motion is? Who's a part of it? Let's start with that.
Okay. Well, Mission Literacy in Motion is an organization. It has a board, so there's people who sit on that board. We have members of the community, and then we also have some committees out in the world that are connected to Mission Literacy in Motion. So anybody can be part of it. It's something that you can do if you're interested in literacy. And as you said, Paul, literacy is one of the things that Mission Literacy in Motion does is it connects people with each other. So if you have something that you're struggling with, as maybe to do with reading, maybe to do with understanding, you know, all those horrible forms we have to fill out all the time online. Mission Literacy in Motion does tutoring for adults.
Right.
We do work like conversation circles with people who are learning English for the first time, people who have come into our community. We do programs for children. We do something called Reading Buddies that is helps kids who are struggling to read. They get to connect with a volunteer. And of course, that now is happening on Zoom as well this year.
Right.
There's a program called Parent Child Mother Goose, which is all about helping young parents connect with each other and at the same time sort of gather a toolkit of songs and rhymes and fun ways to play with your baby and tell stories that don't involve having to buy any expensive things. So that's the kind of thing that Mission Literacy in Motion does.
And I think the videos that we're going to be talking about later on, the videos that are going to be getting released as part of this year's Riot, really, one of them is Mother Goose. And the other thing about it is they really show very creative, simple, inexpensive ways to do all the things you just described. Yeah. And we're going to put a little link down below so that people can link to Mission Literacy in Motion's website and see your programs and contacts. I would describe you guys also as navigators. If you don't do it, you are comprised of people who do it and or know how to get connected to them. And so if somebody reaches out to you, they're going to find the help that they need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I think the next question is me as well, right? So in these videos that we're about to put out, we have, David and I created a couple characters again this year. We'll let people discover the characters, but initially, one of the characters is not terribly fond of librarians. Let's just put it that way, right? And in real life, I'm pretty fond of librarians and libraries because they do a lot more than people think that they do. And I know that as a librarian and somebody who has spent a lot of time in one, or many of them actually, you know what they're capable of providing for people. What do libraries really do for us other than signing out a book?
Okay, that's a really good question. So again, libraries fundamentally, I think, are about finding information. So it could be information about a good book to read. It could be information about how to accomplish something that you have no idea how to accomplish. It could be about trying to learn a new skill. It could be about trying to find a phone number from somebody a long lost relative who moved somewhere and you've lost touch with. It can be about all sorts of things that you need to find out. And yes, libraries are full of books, and these days they're actually full of other things than books too. I'm not sure if you know, but there's all sorts of things that can be borrowed at the library now, which enhance learning, but that aren't the traditional books that you might think of. The one thing, the thing that's been around the longest probably are DVDs. So I don't know, some of the older people watching this might remember when there were actually DVD stores, but now libraries have a wonderful collection of movies and things that come from TV series that you can take home and watch. We also have, here's gets more unusual, we have telescopes. We have bird watching backpacks. So you can take a backpack that has a pair of binoculars and a bird book, and you can go out with your family and try and learn about the birds that are in your area. There's little robots you can borrow. There's sunshine lamps. If you suffer from winter blues, you can book out a sunshine lamp and try it out, see how it works for you. There's all sorts of different things like that libraries do. But really, again, it comes down to connection. It comes down with helping people. And that is what libraries do. And just so you know, and so the world knows, although I officially retired from the library in 2013, I only semi-retired. And I am actually now in my 43rd year of working for Fraser Valley Regional Library. So that's quite a long time.
You're constantly saying, oh, I have a shift. I have a shift. You're the busiest retired person I know. I want to add to your list because I got to say that on a couple of different occasions, the library has helped me in ways that I was so glad I discovered. A lot of research projects I've done have needed me to kind of gather pamphlets and old articles. And I didn't realize until I started conversing with some librarians that they were able to help me and wanted to help me navigate through some research. They literally gave me ideas. and we opened up this file cabinet and found resources we would never have found that were collected over the years. The other thing that we needed to do is gather sometimes with people, and the meeting spaces at the library were a great resource.
And, you know, sadly, some of those old pamphlet files do not exist anymore in libraries. Those things, they just don't. But we can still find the information. Librarians are extremely good at searching out information. It's what we're trained to do. So usually we can still find, there's databases, there's things that have those old articles that used to be in the filing cabinets. We can still locate them.
Yeah, and the online journal subscriptions that come with being part of being a member, and the fact that you're connected to all the other libraries. So if you don't know this, you aren't just looking at the books that are held right now currently in the Mission branch. They're constantly changing, and you can ask for books to come at no expense from other places. So super duper cool. Looks like the next question's mine too, David. I don't know, you got backloaded on the last questions. So we're here to talk about the Riot of Reading. So let's start off by talking about what Riot of Reading is all about. What's its raison d'etre? I don't know why I'm talking about raisins, but anyways, why does it exist? And then we'll talk a little bit about how's it going to look this year.
Okay. So the Riot of Reading started 19 years ago, and it actually started from an idea I had where I was helping somebody who had come in the library whose child was a struggling reader. And I did my little spiel that I have done, because really what you have to do when your child is struggling to read is you have to find out what they're interested in. It's all about being led by your child's interest. So they might not be interested by the books that they're being given at school, but they might be fascinated with outer space. And so the secret is to find out what lights the fire in the child and go with that. So when I had finished helping this person so many years ago, she said to me, "You've given me a tremendous amount of help today." And that just kind of lit a light bulb over my head. And I thought, you know, this community is full of people who know these things and who can help. And wouldn't it be neat if we could get everybody together in one place who supports families and sort of do like a one-stop shop, a celebration of literacy? And then I started thinking, yes, and we could do fun stuff for the kids so that they would be happy and engaged. And we could have all sorts of information there for the parents who might want to maybe they're worried about their child is a slow speaker and they might want to get help with speech, or they might want to be new to the community and want to know where they could go to get immunizations for their child, or, you know, all of these kinds of things that families need to know and are part of the village, right? You've all heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village for all of us. And I think if there is one lesson that this pandemic has taught us, it is how important our village is and how hard it is to connect when our normal ways of seeing people have all been taken away from us. So I think that is in fact what we tried to do with the Riot of Reading, is to get that village in one place, to say this is the support. This is how you can connect with the people that you need to make your family strong and healthy.
Yeah, and I got to say that anybody who thinks that it couldn't possibly be exciting needs to go. One of the things about maybe the 19th is going to look different, but the 20th is going to be kicking, because it is a loud, active, interactive, diverse, I should say, affair. There's music, there's dance, there's all kinds of different cultural exposure, and in food. What's your favorite part of it? What do you like the most?
I like the dancers a lot.
Yeah.
I like the choir, the Mayday choir, a lot. Yeah. And just getting to meet all the people is really enjoyable.
All the little kids. What's your favorite part of it? Before we ask you the second part of this question, what's your favorite part of a riot in a typical year?
In a typical year, I think it's the happiness. It's how people enjoy getting together. And, you know, one of the people who has been at the riot every year is a young man who goes by Neon the Clown, who is always there tying balloon animals. And, you know, Neon the Clown, who I know by his real name, who lives in Mission as well, this would have been his 10th year of doing it if he had been able to participate. So he started when he was 14. And he's been part of the Riot, and he reached out to me this year, and he has all sorts of ideas about how maybe in the spring we can do something in the park. And I'm thinking, this is what makes me happiest, is the people who've been there and the happiness and how it has become something that people look forward to, and is useful, right? But also fun.
Yeah, it's a little 4-hour oasis in the middle of the winter, really. And David and I love to kind of get into it for that same reason, right? And it's one of these things that once you do it, you're kind of part of a family and you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So this year it's going to be a little bit different. Talk a little bit about what we're doing this year. And this video kind of kicks that process off. So we'll put the information down below as well to help people link to the website. But what's going to happen this year?
Okay, so this year, of course, we cannot do our big fair that we've always done where we have 500 people gathered together in one place. So this year, what it looks like is a series of videos that we have put together, the people who plan the Riot and who work on the Riot. We put our heads together and we got together a series of videos. Most of them are designed at the little people in your life. So fun entertainment. There's going to be a puppet show that is written and done by me. There is a parent-child mother goose session where you can learn all sorts of songs and hear told stories, because telling stories is hugely important as well as reading them, and it's also part of literacy. There's going to be a whole segment about the importance of play, because that also is one of the really important literacy practices. Tremendously important for young children below the age of 6, but actually it doesn't stop being important. We all need play. That's another thing we've learned in this pandemic, that we've missed our relaxation, our interaction with people, and our entertainment. So, and talking is so important as well. So there's going to be a series of videos. It's going to start when we get to the kids stuff. It's going to start with the puppet show, and it's going to end with our friend, Norden the Magician, who has come for many, many years and done a wonderful magic show for the kids. So it's all going to be there on your screen. And it's going to remind you, all of it, of those 5 literacy practices. So the importance of reading, writing, talking, singing, and playing with your family.
Excellent. And we're going to start those on the 1st and run through the 5th. So Mission is taking a little bit of license on Literacy Week. We're going to let it starting next week, but this video is going to go out today on some various networks, and it'll be on the Mission Literacy YouTube page. We'll put that link below, and people can look for a new video every day between now and Friday. And we're going to put a bonus video up as well with some ideas from a speech language pathologist. So that all together, including this video, there'll be a total of 7, unless Norden comes along and does some magic and makes a few disappear.
Well, I hope he doesn't. Maybe he'll make
it's all going to be blamed on somebody else if that happens.
He'll make some reappear. He'll make some come back.
Exactly. Okay, David, I think we have a few questions from you.
Yeah. So you talked about the Riot in its usual form, how many great resources there are accessible just in that one gymnasium. What are some of the great resources that people in our area can find and use?
Well, that's a really good question, David, because over the years, it's always a little different. But we have had we've had people from the Indigenous community who have come, people from Siwalsa West who run the Indigenous support for students in the schools. We've had people from the Stalo Nation, sometimes from Future 4 Nations. So people who Indigenous people can connect with, and all of us can connect with, to learn more about culture and what's available in our community. We've had people from Fraser Health. We've had the speech language people come and talk to parents if they're worried about their children with delayed speech. We've had the public health nurses come and talk about the importance of immunization and how you can connect with those. Of course, sadly, in this pandemic year, so many of the public health people have been whisked away to work on COVID tracing and things like that, that those services are not quite as available as they always used to be, but they are there. We've also had people from Family Place in Mission, which is run by Mission Community Services. And that's a huge hub for families to connect. And even even now during the pandemic, Family Place is still, even in January, doing outdoor sessions in the park where families meet. They go on nature walks, rain or shine or snow or anything. They bundle up and go, and there's just a few families who are allowed each time. So you do have to sign up. There's the Strong Starts, which are still operating in our schools as well, and are huge supports for parents of young children. And it's just a way that you can still connect even in these times. You know, there are so many people who are part of the Riot. And my original idea when I had this, I thought we have to somehow say something about all of these people. But I realized as we were doing the videos and you were doing the introductions, that it would just be too choppy if we tried to highlight everybody who's been part of the Riot. So the thing that I want to say is, for families out there, is there's something in the community that you need connection with or need help with, either connect with Mission Literacy in Motion or with the library, and those people there can help you find the connections for the groups that you want. So yeah.
We're going to put some of those links, at least the Mission Literacy in Motion one there and the Fraser Valley Regional Library one on the screen. Let's see if we can find some links to the other places that you talked about as well, because you're right. And the other thing I'll say about those folks, and I know many of them, is they're not worried about the billing. They just want you to be able to find them and be able to help you. So there's some navigation, as you just said, from folks.
And most of the resources that I talked about, they're free resources, right? They're not something you have to pay with. The Child Development Center, again, you phone and connect with them, and sometimes you have to wait a bit for an appointment, but they're tremendous people down there, and they will help you with all sorts of issues, whether it's from babies all the way up to older children as well. So.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Well, David, I think we have one last question from you, right?
Yeah, and this one's a pretty simple one, but it's definitely an important one, and I think it's one that you will be happy to answer. What have you been reading these days?
Oh, you know, one of the things about me and reading is that I read a tremendous number of different things. So right now, I'm reading a mystery story by Louise Penny, who's a Canadian mystery author. I am also reading at the same time a book called, you know, I'm of course not going to remember the exact title because it's sitting in my chair and I don't want to go and get it, but I think it's called The Anatomy of Nature. And it's a beautiful book that is sort of designed by somebody who really has been looking at nature, and it's all full of drawings, and she tells you all about the different types of clouds and the different shapes of tree leaves, and a lot of sort of simple science and biology, but it's all done artistically, and it's a beautiful book to look through.
Sorry, go with that.
Am I allowed to go on?
Please do. I thought you were done, but please do.
I would also say that I am, what else have I been reading recently? I had a third thing in mind there. I still read children's books too. I'm a big fan of picture books. There's some beautiful picture books out there. And one of the sad things is that sometimes children think once they can learn to read really well and they can read thicker books, that they shouldn't go back to those picture books, but they are illustrated by artists. They're beautiful. Some of them have wonderful messages, and they're to be enjoyed by the whole family forever. So reading lots of different things.
I love going to your Rotary meetings, and you present a book every Rotary to all the grown-ups. And it's a children's book, and it really kind of is important for all the reasons you said. Plus, it helps us to kind of remember our inner child. I'm like you. I have a bunch of different things on my table at one time. Right now, a book about botany, a book about sausage making, a book about appreciative inquiry, and a novel called The Nickel Boys. What about you? What are you reading right now?
I've been reading, like you said, I've still not grown out of children books. So I'm reading the new J.K. Rowling book, The Ichabod. And it's very good. And I really enjoy that I think she submitted the book online, and she got kids to read it and then submit their illustrations. So it's filled with illustrations from kids who read the book and, you know, used like their imaginations to imagine what they thought the scene was like. And then they got their pictures put in the book. So it's very interesting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we've taken enough of Elspeth's time, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to do our little sign off? Do you have words you want to finish up with?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Elspeth, for joining us and for doing everything that you do in the community. Thank you to everyone who supports the Riot of Reading. So all the guests that you'll see in the videos and all the resources and the different businesses that support us from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
And
so much.
I would like to say thank you as well. You guys are part of my village too, and help put on the Riot of Reading every year. And I just would like to say thank you to everybody for making it through this year and continuing to celebrate literacy.
Thank you so much, Elspeth. Have a great day. Don't get too wet out there in this soggy Sunday, but this is a good day to curl up with a book. All right. Okay. See you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.